You know that feeling, right?
Mm.
You get a new gadget, maybe some software at work, or even just, I don't know, a fancy coffee machine.
Hmm.
And you open the manual and it's like hieroglyphics. Total bewilderment. You waste so much time just trying to figure out what they mean. It's incredibly frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there. It tanks productivity, drives you crazy, and sometimes, honestly, it can even be unsafe if you misunderstand something critical.
Exactly. But then sometimes,
Mm.
just sometimes, you find instructions or a report that just clicks. It's
Mm.
clear, it anticipates what you need, it just works.
Yeah, that's the magic, isn't it? That's effective communication in action, often invisible when done well.
Okay, so let's unpack this because that's what we're diving into today. We're tackling a really fundamental question. What is technical communication?
Mm.
It's this field we interact with constantly, often without even realizing it has a name.
That's right. It impacts so much from huge global operations down to, just understanding your medication instructions.
So, for this deep dive, we're drawing heavily from Chapter 1, What is Technical Communication? From a text called Technical Communication, a design-centric approach.
Hmm.
And our mission for you today is really to pull out the core ideas, the essential nuggets, to help you grasp the purpose, the key principles, and what makes technical communication truly effective.
Whether you're actually creating this stuff, writing reports, manuals, instructions, or just trying to make sense of the information coming at you every day.
Exactly. Understanding this can genuinely change how you deal with information overload. So, let's get into it. All right, so to kick things off,
Yeah.
when we say technical communication, what are we actually talking about? It feels like it's got to be more than just, writing technical stuff down.
Uh-huh. It definitely is. In very practical terms, technical communication is something professionals and even consumers use every single day. Its core function to solve problems, primarily in a workplace or some kind of goal-oriented setting. And it does this using both words and images.
Okay, words and images to solve problems, not just to inform.
Precisely. It's not information for its own sake, like maybe in literature or pure academic research. And it's not really about creative expression either. Its entire purpose is to enable action or to make understanding easier so the reader can achieve something specific. The writer's goal is totally focused on the reader's needs.
Right. It's like giving someone a tool, not just telling them a story.
Exactly. Think about the kinds of goals it helps achieve. They're often really critical. For example, imagine a big company rolling out, say, a new software system, like an ERP system, across all its offices.
Okay, yeah. Big project, lots of people involved.
Right. So technical communication here would be essential for helping employees learn something important for their job, maybe how the new screens work, or the new way to enter data. Or it could be to help them perform a specific task, like a step-by-step guide, maybe with screenshots, showing exactly how to process an invoice using this new system, or how to fix a common error message.
Very practical stuff, direct application.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's even more high level. It might be used to help managers or executives make critical decisions.
Hmm.
Think about a report analyzing how well people are adopting the new software, or whether it's actually delivering the promised savings. That information shapes long-term company strategy.
So, learning, doing, deciding, all very action-oriented.
Exactly. Each one shows that direct problem-solving function. The communication isn't just background noise. It makes something happen, or it's supposed to.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not abstract, it's tied to a real outcome. So with all these different uses, what's the thread that ties it all together? What's the main goal?
The fundamental principle, the absolute baseline, is that technical communication must be accessible, clear, and easily understood. Full stop. The ultimate aim is that the reader, whoever they are, can pick up your message, your document, your webpage, whatever, and accomplish what they need to do. And crucially, they should be able to do it without getting confused, frustrated, or needing to call for help unnecessarily.
Going back to that ERP example,
Hmm.
if the manuals are full of developer jargon, nobody understands.
Right. Or if the troubleshooting guides are just a mess, impossible to navigate. That information isn't just difficult, it's basically useless. It stops people cold.
It becomes a barrier itself.
Precisely. It actively prevents them from doing their jobs efficiently. Good technical communication anticipates that. It's built from the ground up to remove those barriers. It's all about designing the information so that understanding it and using it feels as smooth and effortless as possible for that specific reader.
And when it doesn't work, well, the cost isn't just annoyance, is it? It could be huge.
Oh, definitely. Lost time, lost money, increased support costs, mistakes, errors. And in fields like medicine or engineering, the consequences of unclear communication can be far, far more severe. Safety issues, even.
Okay, that perfectly sets up what feels like the absolute heart of this whole thing. If the goal is helping readers achieve their goals,
Ugh.
then you absolutely have to know who they are. This idea of the end user. Let's dig into that. For our listeners who might already know the term, what are the sort of deeper implications? Why is focusing on the end user so vital?
Right. The end user is, yeah, the person or group the information is aimed at. But the deeper implication, the thing that really matters, is that they aren't some vague, generic audience.
Yeah.
They are specific people with specific backgrounds, existing knowledge, maybe specific anxieties or pressures related to their job. And they need your document for a very particular workplace purpose.
So not just users, but like these specific users.
Exactly. Think about our ERP system again. The end users could be incredibly varied. You might have an IT admin who needs really deep technical specs. You might have a sales manager who just needs a super quick guide on pulling one type of report. And then you might have a brand new employee who needs the absolute basics to how do I even log in? Their needs, their technical comfort levels, their goals are completely different.
Okay, so that makes understanding them critical.
Critical doesn't even cover it. It's fundamental. You have to empathize with them and meticulously plan your writing around them. This isn't just like a nice to have. It's the absolute core of whether your communication will succeed or fail.
Empathy.
Hmm.
That's interesting in a technical context. What does that look like
Yeah.
practically?
Practically, it means asking a lot of questions before you write. You put yourself in their shoes, rigorously. What frustrates them now? What do they already know about this topic or this system? What specifically do they need to learn or be able to after reading this? What's their job role? How will they physically use this document on a screen, print it out in a noisy workshop? How much time do they realistically have?
Okay, yeah, that's detailed.
It has to be. If you don't grasp their perspective, their context, their precise needs, your communication, even if it's technically 100% accurate, just won't connect. It won't actually help them. It might even hinder them. Let's use that internal proposal example from the source material. Say your team brainstormed a great idea, maybe a new feature for that ERP system. You have to write a proposal to get it approved.
Right, happens all the time. Got to sell the idea internally.
Okay. So who are your end users? They're the decision makers, the people who read it and decide, yes, let's spend money and time on this, or no, not worth it. Now, who are those decision makers? Is it just your direct boss? They might only need a quick summary, the bottom line, your recommendation. Pretty straightforward.
Makes sense. Keep it concise for the busy manager.
But what if it has to go to, say, the board of directors or a cross-functional committee? Suddenly, you need a much more comprehensive document. You'll need detailed financials, probably a risk assessment, how it aligns with company strategy, the long-term benefits spelled out clearly.
Whoa, yeah. Totally different document. Same core idea, but presented very differently.
Exactly. The whole structure, the beta you include, the level of formality, even the visuals, it all has to change based on who those specific end users are and what they need to make their decision. Just writing down the idea isn't enough. You have to architect the argument specifically for them. Failing to do that, that's how good ideas die in organizations.
That really shows the strategic thinking involved. And you mentioned words and images earlier and visuals just now. The source talks about design, too. How big a role does the actual look and feel play beyond just making it pretty?
Oh, it's absolutely foundational. It's not just about aesthetics at all. The visual design, how a document or presentation looks, massively influences how users engage with it and, crucially, how credible they perceive it to be.
Credibility, just from the look.
Absolutely. Think about it. A clean, well-organized document with consistent formatting, clear headings, maybe helpful diagrams. Even before you read a word, it signals professionalism. It says, someone cared about this. This is likely trustworthy.
And the opposite. A messy, jumbled document.
Exactly. Inconsistent fonts, blurry images crammed in, big walls of text with no breaks. It immediately screams unprofessional, rushed, maybe even unreliable. Remember that ERP training manual? If it looks like a disaster, your gut reaction is probably frustration, and you might even start thinking the software itself is going to be a nightmare to use. The design sets an expectation.
So the design itself communicates.
It absolutely does, and it directly impacts whether an end user will even bother to read it, let alone understand and act on it. We're talking functional design choices here. Using white space effectively so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Choosing readable fonts. Using clear headings and maybe bullet points or numbered lists to break up information, and using visuals, strategically charts, graphs, flowcharts to make complex data or processes easier to grasp quickly. Imagine explaining a complicated workflow in that ERP system.
Paragraph after paragraph of text.
Right, but a well-designed flowchart. Boom! You can see the whole thing in seconds. If the design makes it hard work, the user might just give up no matter how brilliant the actual content is.
So it's truly holistic. The words, the structure, the visuals, they all have to work together for the user.
Precisely. It's not just what you say, it's very much how you design the entire communication experience.
Okay, that point about design being integral, not just decoration, is huge. It broadens the idea of communication beyond just words on a page. So within this bigger picture of technical communication, where does technical writing specifically fit? How should we think about its unique role, especially for listeners already working in or around this field?
Right. Technical writing is definitely a core, vital part of technical communication, but it's not the whole picture. While technical communication can include things like giving a training presentation, designing an intuitive website interface, making an instructional video, or even shaping the user experience (UX) of software, technical writing specifically zeroes in on using the written word as the main way to deliver that practical, scientific, or mechanical information.
So it's focused on text primarily.
Primarily, yes. And its hallmarks are absolute clarity, accuracy, and making sure it's easily accessible for a very specific group of people, people who need that information to do something.
Okay. And you said earlier it's used every day, not just in like super specialized fields.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere, often hiding in plain sight. People use it constantly to solve problems in daily life, both at work and at home, often without labeling it technical writing. Think about it. The terms and conditions you scroll through for an app, that's technical writing. The troubleshooting guide for your Wi-Fi router, technical writing. A recipe guiding you step by step, that's a form of technical writing. Safety instructions on a power tool, critical technical writing. Even the assembly instructions for flat pack furniture.
There. The infamous furniture instructions. Yes, okay, I see it now.
Right. All these examples are carefully crafted, or should be carefully crafted, pieces of technical writing. They aren't meant to entertain you or persuade you like an advertisement. Their job is purely to inform, guide, and enable you to do something correctly and safely. They're the instructions for navigating our complex world.
So it's really the language of how to and what is in a very practical sense. Way broader than just science labs and engineering firms.
Exactly. Now, that said, it is also the absolutely essential way that complex, detailed information gets shared in those highly specialized fields: science, engineering, medicine. Think about things like clinical trial reports that doctors rely on, or super detailed specifications for building an airplane part, or complex legal documents like patents. That's high-stakes technical writing.
So it spans a huge range from the everyday to the highly specialized.
It does, and the key thing is that the definitions technical communication and technical writing, they aren't separate boxes. They overlap significantly. They're both fundamentally tied together by that core mission, serving the practical everyday goals of the end user. Technical writing is just the specific craft within technical communication that focuses on achieving those goals primarily through written text.
Okay, so technical writing is a specific skill set within the broader practice of technical communication. But they share the same user-focused problem-solving DNA.
You got it. Whether it's a complex scientific paper or a simple quick start guide, its success is measured by how well it helps the intended reader achieve their specific purpose. Can they do the thing you're writing about? That's the test. Hashtag tag tag 4, the pillars of effective technical writing.
Okay, that distinction is clear. So let's move on to what makes technical writing specifically good. What are the foundational pillars, the non-negotiables? The first one mentioned is about transmitting detailed, complex information clearly and quickly. For our audience who deal with complexity, how do experts actually achieve that, especially when users have different levels of understanding?
Right, that first pillar, clarity and efficiency, is absolutely crucial, but it's more nuanced than just being simple. It's about handling complexity effectively. The goal is to take information that might be really intricate or maybe just voluminous and present it to your specific end user in a way that's both succinct and comprehensive enough for their needs, without sacrificing accuracy, of course.
Succinct and comprehensive. That sounds like a tricky balance.
It is, and the key is communicating with what the source calls appropriate complexity. This means you don't dumb it down unnecessarily. That can be insulting and unhelpful too. Instead, you carefully choose the right vocabulary, the right level of technical detail for that specific user in that specific situation.
So tailoring the complexity level.
Exactly. Let's go back to the IT department and the general employees using the ERP system. If you're writing an internal guide for the IT support team, people who live and breathe this system. You can use deep technical jargon, acronyms, assume they know the basics, they need the detailed specifics.
Right, get straight to the technical core.
But if you're writing an error message that pops up for a regular employee just trying to submit their timesheet, you absolutely cannot use that same jargon. You need plain language. You need to tell them clearly what the problem is in terms they understand and exactly what they should do next. Maybe offer a link for more help. A completely different approach.
Okay, so it requires really knowing the audience's starting point.
Profoundly. You have to know who they are, what they already know, and this is critical. What specifically do they need this piece of information for right now? Are they an expert needing precision, a novice needing basic steps? Are they trying to make a quick decision or understand a deep concept? The answers dictate everything. Sentence length, paragraph structure, which terms need defining, how much background to give, the logical flow, all of it.
It's like filtering and focusing the information beam for them.
That's a great way to put it. It's about making it as easy as possible for them to find and absorb exactly what they need, with minimal wasted effort or confusion, precision without being obscure, comprehensive without being overwhelming.
That's a real art.
Okay.
Okay, so that's pillar one, clarity through appropriate complexity. This is the second pillar. This idea about using standardized forms called genres. We use things like memos, reports, manuals all the time. Why is sticking to these conventions so important?
The second pillar. Using genres and their established conventions. This is incredibly powerful and maybe a bit underestimated sometimes. The huge advantage is efficiency for the reader. When someone who uses technical documents regularly encounters one that follows familiar rules like a standard lab report format or a typical user manual structure, they can process the information much, much faster.
Because they know where to look for things.
Exactly. They don't have to waste brain power figuring out, okay, where's the main point? Where are the results? Where's the safety warning? Their mind already has a mental map for that genre. They can navigate it almost automatically, find the executive summary, the methods section, the troubleshooting steps, whatever they need on the first pass.
It reduces the cognitive load, as they say.
Precisely. And sticking to these conventions, that's really a hallmark of a professional technical communicator. It shows you understand the context, you respect the user's time, and you're anticipating their expectations. You're deliberately communicating in a way that helps them solve their problem or think critically, rather than making them decode your unique creative format first.
So creativity in formatting is usually bad in technical writing.
Generally, yes, if it breaks established conventions for that genre without a very strong user-centered reason. The genres themselves are incredibly varied, of course. A formal grant proposal is vastly different from a quick email update, which is different from a reference card taped to a machine. Each is its own genre. Think of genres as different dialects or specialized languages within technical communication. Each has its own grammar, structure, expected tone.
Like knowing whether to write a formal letter or a quick text message.
Exactly. So understanding the specific genre you need to use and its conventions alongside understanding your end user. Those are absolutely critical choices you make before writing. And mastering them. It really takes studying good examples of that genre and just lots of practice. You have to learn to speak the language your specific audience expects and understands fluently.
Right, learn the language of the memo, the report, the manual. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So pillar 3, be objective. In today's world, that feels challenging. What does objectivity truly mean here, and why is it so essential?
Yeah, that's a really important one, especially now. The third pillar is unwavering objectivity. And it's required in pretty much all technical writing because the focus has to be on the information itself, the facts, the data, the process, not on a writer's personal opinions, feelings, or biases.
The information is king, not the writer's viewpoint.
Absolutely. Think about writing safety procedures for using that ERP system or compiling a report on its performance metrics. Your personal feelings, whether you love the system or hate it, whether you like the developers or not, are completely irrelevant. Worse, they're damaging. The user relies on the information being factually accurate and unbiased to make decisions or perform tasks safely and correctly.
So how does objectivity help present the message clearly?
It removes barriers. If your writing seems biased, maybe overly positive or overly negative, the reader might get defensive or start questioning your motives or get into an emotional argument about it. It creates noise and distraction. It pulls focus away from the actual data or instructions. If that ERP performance report feels like a biased sales pitch or a vindictive critique, stakeholders won't trust the numbers. They'll be arguing about the perceived agenda instead.
So objectivity builds trust and keeps the focus on the facts.
Precisely. It helps ensure the message is perceived as credible, reliable, and trustworthy. And that's non-negotiable when people are using your words to make important decisions, do complex tasks, or stay safe. The technical writer always needs to remember the end user is a real person with real problems needing clear, unbiased help, not your opinion.
Okay, so we've got clarity, deep user focus, using genres effectively, and strict objectivity. Those are really solid pillars. But, even with the best intentions, things can still go wrong. What are some common ways technical writing falls short? I'm thinking about that awful dense language you sometimes see, legalese or academies.
Ah, yes, that's a huge pitfall. Burying the meaning in overly complex jargon or really convoluted sentence structures, you hit the nail on the head with legalese and academies. It's when the language becomes so specialized, so abstract, or just so grammatically tangled that it actually hides the meaning instead of revealing it.
It becomes exclusive, almost like a code.
Exactly. If a document is packed with terms only a tiny handful of experts in one specific niche understand, or if the sentences are these incredibly long, passive voice monsters, well, it becomes useless to almost everyone else. It completely frustrates the user's basic need to get to the relevant information quickly and understand it.
Like that example you gave earlier, interoperability protocols necessitate something something.
Right. Instead of just saying, check if it works with other systems before you enter data, that kind of opaque language completely defeats the purpose. The meaning has to be clear, it has to be accessible. Otherwise, the information isn't useful, isn't comprehensible, and the communication has failed. Obscurity is the enemy.
It really undermines the whole problem-solving goal.
Totally. And this ties into another key point that separates maybe novices from more experienced professionals. Technical writing isn't just one single style. It's not monolithic. A skilled technical writer knows they have to constantly make choices and adapt their approach.
Adapt? How so?
Well, you have to deliberately alter your writing style. You choose what information to include and, just as importantly, what to leave out. You adjust the complexity level, like we discussed. You modulate your tone.
And all based on?
All based on the audience, primarily. But also the purpose of the document, the context they'll use it in, the potential consequences of misunderstanding, a whole host of factors specific to that writing situation. These choices, audience, purpose, context, they're what guide you to select the right genre in the first place.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about that ERP system again. If you need to send a quick note to your immediate team about a tiny bug fix you just deployed, that's probably an informal email or a chat message. Quick, direct, maybe assume some shared knowledge.
Okay, low-key.
Right. But now imagine you're contributing to the company's official annual report for shareholders, and you need to describe the overall impact and ROI of that entire ERP implementation project as part of the company's digital strategy.
Whoa, okay, yeah, totally different ballgame.
Completely. Same underlying topic, the ERP system, but the audience, shareholders versus internal team, the purpose, reporting value versus fixing a bug, the context, formal report versus a quick update, demand a vastly different style, tone, level of detail, and genre. Technical writing is fundamentally about making those strategic, adaptive choices. It's not a formula, it's a practice.
So it's not about applying one strict set of rules across the board. It's more like being a skilled craftsperson, selecting the right approach, the right tool for each specific job. And it sounds like when you combine that adaptability, that deep audience understanding with the objectivity we talked about, mastering the right genre, really considering the user's needs and situation, that's the secret sauce for truly excellent technical writing.
That really captures it. The best technical writing does feel like it goes beyond just the basics. It's more than just accurate facts presented clearly. It shows this deep, almost intuitive awareness of the user. It anticipates their questions before they even ask them. It understands where they might struggle. It designs the information to be inherently, almost effortlessly helpful. It thinks about how they'll interact with it.
That makes me think about the difference between someone just starting out and a real expert. It seems like novices often focus mostly on the end product, right? Like I have to write this manual or I need to get this report done.
That's a really sharp observation. Yes, often the focus is just on producing the deliverable. Experienced writers, though, often start somewhere else entirely. They start with questions, lots of questions. Their process begins by really interrogating the situation. Who exactly is this for? What do they know already? What's the critical piece they don't know? What specifically should they be able to do after reading this? What's the context? What pressures are they under? What's their likely mindset?
Starting with the why and the who before the what and how.
Precisely. And that source text we're using, technical communication, a design-centric approach, its whole philosophy is built around helping you learn to ask the right questions. The goal is to shift your thinking from just writing a document to designing an effective communication solution that genuinely helps the user. It uses this design-centric model to really hone those skills.
Designing a solution, I like that. It's like building a bridge for the reader, making sure it's sturdy, easy to cross, and gets them exactly where they need to go rather than just, I don't know, shouting instructions across a canyon.
That's a perfect analogy. Exactly. Hashtag tag hat outro.
Wow. Okay, that was quite the journey into something that seems simple on the surface, technical communication, but is clearly so much more strategic and, well, human than maybe we first think. So just to quickly recap the big takeaways. At its heart, technical communication is about solving real problems for specific people. It uses clear, objective, well-structured information to help users achieve their goals.
Right. And it absolutely hinges on understanding the end user, really getting into their world through empathy, planning meticulously around their needs, and then executing precisely. That execution involves choosing the right words, yes, but also effective visual design and using the right genre or format that the user expects.
And what really strikes me listening to all this is how much it comes down to empathy, doesn't it?
It really does. That ability to step outside your own head and truly consider the reader's perspective, their needs, their context, that's what makes communication work. Not just be understood, but be useful.
Yeah. And knowing these principles, it's really empowering, whether you're the one creating a report or writing instructions, or even if you're just the person trying to understand a complicated manual or maybe a medical bill or something.
Absolutely. It helps you be a better communicator and also a much more critical and effective consumer of information yourself. You start to see why some things are clear and helpful and others are just noise.
So if we zoom out for a final thought, think about how much of our modern lives really depend on this stuff working well. Assembling furniture, like we said, understanding your health information, making sense of financial documents or complex policies that affect us all. It all relies on these principles of technical communication.
Often invisibly when it's done right.
Exactly. So here's something to maybe chew on as you go about your day. What critical information are you trying to communicate right now? Or maybe what complex information are you trying to understand? And how could applying some of these ideas, thinking about the user, focusing on clarity, structure, objectivity, help you achieve your goal more effectively, more efficiently, and maybe with just a little less frustration?